Part III, and the final part of this installment before I come back. So we're gonna move forward. We just left the explaining of the flesh of the gods and Afu-Ra and all that other good stuff, and why we are using the term NOOPOOH so people can stop thinking that we're like all these other fantastical space cadet coats out here who making up names and don't even know what they're talking about. As stated before, this is why our ancestors claimed that NOOPOOH was the flesh of Ra, because we actually came from the sun in a real way physically. Unlike other mentally dead individuals, we descended from, unlike other mentally dead individuals who say we descended from aliens mixing their DNA with monkeys, or we evolved from a monkey common ancestor. All right, this is some of your followers over some vision over in the UK, still spreading that same multifaceted creation stories. They got so many of them, none of them gel together. All right, go over here. We got two on with Unc West, known as the Community of Skeptics, talking about the Orlando Carterini, humans are apes and monkeys, which is dumb. I think Anoop should be dealing with that soon in the debate, which I think it's not going to be respected regardless, because Unc believes that him calling something pseudo sets the standard, and you know a lot of people just go with that. Black, Egypt, or African? What about the monkeys and humans? All right, this is a video that Unc and Anoop. It wasn't even a discussion really about monkeys, because the way it was set up, when you're doing a pre-weigh-in, you know, when y'all gonna discuss the rules, you know, it should be between the two people. But once again, it wasn't done properly. Unc was late. He had another guy named Ortega there, and you could tell it was a setup, because soon as he got on there, he didn't greet Anoop with peace or anything. He just started going in about the monkey as if Anoop saying that he want to have a debate about a monkey. You would think that Ortega was insulted, like Anoop said something about his family member.
Okay, I jumped up here without having a prerequisite of what I'm getting into. So I'm gonna entertain your asylum patient for about 10 minutes. That's it, okay. 10 minutes. So let's start. Define monkey, my good friend.
I'm sorry?
Define monkey. What's a monkey? Define a monkey. What's a monkey?
A monkey is a animal, right? And that particular animal. Hold on, because we gotta start broad.
So maybe I need to be.
No, you gotta let him. Cedric, you gotta let him answer though. You ask him a question, Cedric.
Okay, let me be a little bit more specific in my question.
Yeah.
In terms of taxonomy, what's a monkey?
When you say taxonomy, what do you mean? Like what classification?
Yeah. In terms of classification, in terms of taxonomy, where does the word monkey fit into the equation?
It's a primate.
Good. All right. You understand primates. So do you understand what is old world monkey and new world monkey, the Catarrhini and the Patarini?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Do you understand Catarrhini versus Patarini?
No. What is that?
Okay, so your basic understanding of taxonomy and how the evolutionary process works, you have no understanding of. When you use terms like monkey man, ape man, and monkey man, it's indicative of your ignorance. So these conversations that we're having, I'm having with someone that doesn't understand basic taxonomy. Where's this conversation supposed to go? You're completely ignorant to the subject. You're speaking out of your emotion. Next subject, science. What are you talking about? When we talk about science, we talk about the modern way in which we use particular methodologies to examine the natural world. That is the only definition of science that I go by. Because what you do when you're using science synonymous with knowledge or information. Now, anything can be a science. The science of football, the science of dancing, the science of anything doesn't mean that it qualifies and quantifies as what we determine as science in the modern context of the word. So that semantic game you're playing doesn't make any sense. There's no such thing as a spiritual science. You have spiritual information, spiritual knowledge. People put their ideas together, but there's no actual science there. So when you're using these terms, you need to be very specific.
The word science has a fascinating history. It comes from the old French word meaning knowledge, learning, and application. But let's dig deeper. In Latin, scientia meant knowledge, a knowing, expertness, or experience. Fast forward to the late 14th century, and in English, science evolved to mean collective knowledge. Back in medieval times, the pursuit of knowledge wasn't just about experiments and labs. It included grammar, logic, rhetoric, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Quite a mix, right? Today, science is all about understanding the natural and social world. We use systematic methods based on evidence to uncover the mysteries of the universe. It's a journey of discovery and application. So, next time you hear the word science, remember its rich history and how it continues to shape.
Now, let's get back to evolution.
Hold on, wait.
No,
Cedric, you gotta allow him to respond.
I don't want to respond.
No, Cedric, you gotta allow the brother to respond to that, bro. You can't just say something and then run off. You gotta be able to respond. You know how this works.
He rattled off without me saying interrupting him, right? I didn't stop him and ask him.
You made a point, so should I?
I am just making my points, which he also did. Right. Let me plan my plane, because this is not a back and forth. I'm not entertaining a back and forth. I'll just make my statement based on what he said. I'm good.
Right.
What are we doing here? So you talk about monkey man and fusion, so you don't understand.
Write it down, brother. Write down what you want to say. So you're
that's what I'm doing. I'm writing it down.
So when you say you're going to make a genetic, you're not making any point. Like what do you think you're doing? That's complete. Like the ignorance alone. Like I get upset because I'm up here entertaining this level of stupidity. I don't play in the asylum. This is not my caliber of conversation. Period. If you don't know that there's a chromosome 2 fusion, which makes our genetic pattern, our DNA distinct, which makes us the human species, then why are we having this conversation? You gonna prove something that everybody knows, that it's basic and rudimentary, and you think you're doing something. That is indicative of your ignorance of this subject. You get up here because Sa allows it, but you're not even sure you're ready to have the conversation. You come up here and your method of operation is begging the question. You ask stupid questions with your conclusion already implied and expect somebody like me to entertain it. Not me.
But this is the mental death part of these evolutionist Negroes who don't do no research, because the guys they're following, all are following religious individuals. When you look at the people like Darwin and his father, and go back to Sir Isaac Newton, and all these guys were influenced by the Kabbalah on the low.
And the ape is an interesting example, because the Arizal actually says something amazing, in some ways maybe even predating Darwin, because the Arizal says, look, our sages categorize all matter into 4. There's the domem, which is inanimate matter.
Right.
Then there's the tzomeach, the tzemach, like we just said, is plants. And then you have the chai, the baalei chaim, which is the living all the animals, and then the human is the medaber, the highest. It's its own category of human. But the Arizal says something really cool. He says, no, there's transition species also. He says there's transitions between these categories. So he says, what's the transition between a domem, inanimate, and a plant? What's between inanimate and plant? Like a rock, which is domem, and the plant. He says, well, some rocks, you see the lichen growing on it. They're not quite plants, but they're also not inanimate. They grow on rocks and things like that. He says, that's a transition species. That's somehow in between. That's something that's very simple life. That's like growing on a rock. That's not quite a plant, but it's somewhere in between.
They have kind of sea life that's like that they're stuck, they're stationary, they can't move, but they can eat.
Right. Corals. Also, what's a coral? I think he even uses that. He actually specifically uses the example of coral. He uses that word. That corals are like that. They look like rock, but there is life there. And then he says, what's the transition from a semach to a chai, from a plant to an animal? Well, we have Adonia Sadeh, which are carnivorous plants, like Venus flytrap, like the pitcher plant. These are plants that eat animals, right? They eat bugs, they eat animals. So that's a transition between plant and animal. And then he says, and this is the amazing thing, he says, what's the transition then between animal, Baalei Chaim, and Medaber, and human? He says, apes. The Arizal says this. So amazingly, 500 years ago, long before Darwin, the Arizal actually says that apes are a transition species almost between animals and humans.
Or they had a problem with religion, which I discussed, that Darwin really started hating religion or God, a personal belief in the God, because his 10-year-old daughter died.
Did you know Charles Darwin's most famous scientific breakthrough came from his deepest personal tragedy? In 1851, 8 years before publishing his theory of evolution, Darwin watched his beloved 10-year-old daughter Annie slowly die from tuberculosis. As he sat by her bedside, witnessing her innocent suffering, something inside him broke forever. In his private grief journal, he wrote these devastating words: "There is no more design in the variability of organic beings than in the course which the wind blows." This wasn't just a father's grief talking. It was the moment Darwin realized that nature operates without divine purpose or plan. Watching Annie's painful death destroyed his religious faith, but it also gave him the scientific courage he needed. If a loving God wouldn't save an innocent child, then maybe the natural world really was driven by random forces and survival, not divine design. This personal crisis gave Darwin the strength to publish his controversial evolution theory, even knowing it would destroy his reputation. Sometimes our greatest insights come from our deepest pain.
So that clicked his brain right there, and that's what a lot of people who became so-called scientists turn into when certain things don't make sense, or when you had religion as being as cruel as it was, and the way people were behaving made people get a nasty taste in their mouth because they seen how religion, organized religion, was being used as a mafia tool. So a lot of this stuff is not even real. Just like I put out there that even though he talking about Charles Darwin and all these guys, even with the Big Bang, I'll say he wrote the Big Bang. The Big Bang was put out there by Italian priest, and there's nothing in the Bible talks about no explosions. You see, so a lot of things is what they're doing out of the same thing that York and his followers are doing by taking and revamping other people's information. You get the same thing in the evolutionists. You get the same thing with people saying you're atheist. What they got to do with you trying to understand how life got here, but they can't talk about that. You can't talk about natural law and all that stuff without talking about nature and then the intelligence behind it. And we, as Noon, we know that the one supreme being is everything. So there are many gods and goddesses, but only one supreme being. They don't understand that concept. All right, so let's move forward. These are the versions that York put up. So you got the genus Homo, the Homo erectus, the Homo sapien. So you don't have the hominins, the Homo sapiens, sapien, all that other stuff, because York was a 9th grade dropout. And these pictures, York, I did a Facebook post showing where York stole these images from. These are not original. These are not divine images. York copied and pasted. All right, he had a nice team over there that did a lot of drawing. A lot of women drew a lot of those pictures. All right, and they gave York all the credit. Ask Chuck Morgan. He got a lot of examples for that. All right, these are York's version of black people's many origin stories he lies about. Now OSM, right, the Sabians in the UK and other dumb slaves of York are now adding the nature of nature creation story into their religious Arabic alien teachings, which were never part of their origin story, as we NOOPOOHs are making it clear that Noon science and Kemet lines up that our race and others were the products of 9 ether forces and 6 ether forces that rejects aliens, as they say, brought us into existence. Moving on. How Tar dwells inside Afu-Ra. According to the underworld text, like the Book of Gates, when Afu-Ra travels through the deep darkness of the night, he enters the realm of Tat Jinin, which is the oldest primeval earth name of Tar, Tar Tat Jinin. During the middle hours of the night, Afu-Ra, the soul of soul, unites directly with the deep dormant body of Tar. Tar's heart and mind wake up inside the body of Afu-Ra. This fusion gives Afu-Ra the atomic power to defeat the serpent Apophis, spark a cosmic resurrection, and be reborn at the dawn as a brand new sun. So this particular part is talking about 18 million years from now, when we come out of the duat on the right side, which is the east, called 6 East. So this is, again, this hasn't happened yet in that part, because it says a cosmic resurrection. So this is on almighty nature as a whole is being brought back to life by 9 ether, pulling up forces, powers to bring everything back to where it was in the beginning. Listen to reason. The Eastern and scientific name of the writer of this book is Afu-Unu, pronounced Afu-Unu. Of course, Afu means pertaining to Africa, African or African descent, and the word and name Unu means number one or first to be what? Resurrected again. This happens every 72 years from the death called ignorance and deception about absolute nature and its laws and cycles, and the first to be resurrected from the deep grave of death, just like the duat, in the deep part of the duat, the death of culture that do not recognize eternal nature and its laws, cycles, and reason as the one supreme being. Introduction to Nature, Book 1, pages 18 through 19 in part. If you who are intelligent enough can see that Afu-Ra and Afu-Unu is one and the same, one and the same, disqualifies York, because he says one like him comes every 24 to 25,000 years. However, this isn't Kemet timeline, but Hinduism called Yuga cycles. I addressed this foolishness in 2015 in our Noon Sign versus Wu Sabat Wu NOOPOOH group. I said, inquire in the Wappins, November 17, 2015. Inquire in the Wappins, where did Panabab get his 18,000 years from and his 24,000 year circle chart from? They would look extra dumb. York took this from the Hindu Kali Yuga, which lasts 18,000 years. He also constructed his chart from these Hindus as well. Why isn't York using an African chart that can be verified, or one from his hormone sexual aliens? So here, you got Kali Yuga, 18,000 years. All you got to do is look it up. When does the Kali Yuga end? See, 18,000 years. Now we go here, this on the left is out of one of York books. The 24,000 year cycle, beginning cycle up, 18,000 years. Because York is a thief of many cultures. All right, so over here you got the Kali Yuga. This is actually from the Hindu cycles. You see? So you got all these times. They got it broken up in the zodiac, and you know, they got all these timelines and stuff like that. They got a lot of numbers over here. This is the man that introduced 18,000 years and all that. His name was Priya Navkara. He was a guru, Hindu. According to the laws of Manu, one of the earliest known texts describing the Yugas, the length is 4,000 years plus 3,600 years. York uses also for Nibiru, talking about it's a shar, comes every 3,600 years. All this stuff is foolishness. 2,400 years plus 1,200 years for a total of 12,000 years for one arc. Or look, 24,000 years to complete the cycle, which is one procession of the equinox. So you can see you got it over here. A cycle of this 24,000 years, it begins 24,000 years counterclockwise. So this is, again, York was a thief. He started pure Sufi back in the 70s, and a lot of his writings came from Sai Baba, which we did post on that describing York's Hindu roots. All right, and look right here. Ask the Wabbits, do they worship York as their god? They would try to lie, but let's look at this. This January 17, 2015. What it says, our God has come. Every 25,000 years, a being is sent to help the lost children of the planet Earth, to help restore the divine gene of the ancient ones. This being who was sent here is Neter Afertui Aten-Re, our God in this day and time. He is here to elevate the lost children so we can all make the spiritual alignment. These is lies. This is not what Ancient KMT said Atun's job was. All right. This is proof that York was stealing from multiple cultures with spirit beings' help to confuse the Ethiopian black African race. Had Sarnetta not blocked us all these years from 2010 to now, in August 2026, when a NOOPOOH was allowed on his channel, the mentally dead protectors of Dr. York followers and sympathizers still would not let a NOOPOOH speak on this great deception. Also, since Aunt West, aka Baby Fauci, made an ignorant statement saying that Afu-Ra brought nothing to the world, that's why nobody ever heard of him.
I got my man Newts in the building. You know, y'all passing each other bananas, climbing trees. Come on, we're gonna snatch y'all asses down.
What'd he say? Well, I'm gonna climb out the trees and get a nut. For sure. They call him a nut. He was definitely a nut. For sure. Since they laughy on the banana joke, so let's laughy on the nut joke. Knock some of them nuts off the trees. How about that? Laughy. Ha 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 ha. Anyway,
I follow a science course.
If you got a name and it's a NOOPOOH, you out the game.
Reason why I'm even on this platform right now was because the last time we were on the platform, I came to basically defend the fact that York had stolen the word NWAPU from this science known as Noon. The word NWAPU and Noon is synonymous. And the person that came up with the word NWAPU, his name is Afu-Ra. And he was the one that brought the science to the world. And for us to look at the...
That man ain't bring no science to the world. He brought a whole bunch of complete foolery. That's why you don't know who the hell he is. He phased out. Think York snatched up some of his teachers, integrated, and kept it moving. I'm looking for that. I got 2 of them books. I'm gonna find it, man. I gotta go through. Man, I gotta dig deep.
Look at the...
That man ain't bring no science to the world. He brought a whole bunch of complete foolery.
And he said that on his own YouTube when he did a look back with Unk versus a Newt, and it really wasn't even properly done because, again, there you go, Cedric Ortega and the rest of these guys started populating the live, and it messed it up. So Unk trying to do a review of it was one-sided, and it just didn't come out right because they was attacking the Newt, trying to double team them, and it was just pure foolishness is what happens over there. It's always confusion, and it never gets out right. This is what the negative forces does. All right, around the 24 minute 55 seconds forward, he said something negative about Afu-Ra. All right, so I decided to ask Google this because he said nobody ever heard of Afu-Ra, and York took some stuff and took some of his stuff and kept it pushing, and he thought that was funny. So this is what we're talking about, that even though he knows that York is a thief and we done made it known, he don't know Afu-Ra at all, but he thought that was funny that York took something that a great man wrote and York created a cult with it. He still thought that was funny. So this is a spiritual thing, that the spirit that's inside this baby Fauci is against what Atum was really came here to do. And that's why I don't pay him no mind when you talk about Black Africa power, because this dude he got dark skin, but his mind is Caucasian. And he doesn't give a damn about African people. Stop letting these fools fool y'all with these names they carrying. You want to talk about us having funny names? These people got regular modern names and they still acting crazy. All right, so I asked Google this. In the chemical prediction of the resurrection of Afu-Ra, would it be a secret or would the world know he was alive? Google responded. According to the text of Kemet ancient Egypt, the resurrection of Afu-Ra is both a hidden secret and an event that the entire world would witness. The Egyptians did not look at this as a contradiction. Instead, they believed his rebirth happened in two distinct stages. Phase 1, the secret resurrection inside the duat. While Afu-Ra is traveling through the deepest hours of the underworld, his transformation is an absolute, heavily guarded secret. All right, so now we starting to see how the ancestors and this dumb clown does not link up. All right, hidden from the living. Human beings walking earth at night have no idea what is happening deep below them. The world is dead, mentally dead. While Ra is a corpse in the duat, the living world is plunged into pitch black darkness, silence, and a state of temporary death. We're talking about mental death. Only for the initiated, the magical texts and maps like the Book of Gates were called secret knowledge. Only the pharaohs and high priests were allowed to know the secret words that brought Afu-Ra back to life. All right, so we already got Afu-Ra's writings. That's how we know about 9 ether life and all of that. Phase 2, the public revelation, the morning sun. The moment Afu-Ra passes the final gate, this is 18 million years from now. All right, so I'm just letting y'all know that's at 6 East. The secret bursts out into the open. He changes from a hidden corpse, because we in the state that we in now, we in the life of death section of the smack circle. So all of us are corpses when you compare that to the body of the pygmy gods who live millions of years in the same body. We have to die and come back as the opposite to them. All right, so this is speaking in the future. Only the pharaohs and high priests were allowed to know the secret words that brought Afu-Ra back to life. All right, so side note, the world in this case was through Amenupi Rakapata's writings that spread quietly. Remember, Afu-Ra's birth in November 23rd, 1926, Afu-Ra was during a time where Osiris is ruling and black people will not fall out of slavery and still targets. So Afu-Ra had to be protected because of who he was. By the time he was born, the great Marcus Garvey was already in Atlanta prison on a 5-year sentence for alleged mail fraud. By the time Afu-Ra was 2 years old, 7 months, and 27 days old, Noble Drew Ali was dead. It was dangerous. It was a dangerous time, so the secret of who he was had to be kept quiet. So none of this goes with what Unc said. This is why he's a moron, and only anybody who believes they came from a monkey definitely is mentally dead. You can't get no more dumber than that. Universal rejoicing. The text say that everything on earth, humans, animals, trees, and gods, wakes up, shouts for joy, and praises him. His light physically proves to every living thing that life has conquered death for another day. Once again, this is in the future, because NOOPOOH is still in the death zone. 9 ether and 6 ether are opposite. 9 ether is life. So NOOPOOH has to pull everything up out of the duat from the bottom of evolution, which is the 6th gate, which we call 3 South. It's called the 6th gate, or the 6th hour in the duat, all the way up. All right.
Look at the.
That man ain't bring no science to the world. He brought a whole bunch of complete foolery.
Side note, in the occult writings and religious writings, the year 1926 was predicting major changes of the world and that things would get better. Here are a few people that made this statement supporting ancient chemist Afu-Ra's predicted birth at the worst time of the duat in 6th gate called 3 South and Noon Sides. Following was those groups: the Theosophical and New Age movement, the Astrological Community Consensus, a prominent mathematical and esoteric proclamation stated that the long-awaited cosmic age of Aquarius officially began its earthwide shift precisely in 1926. The Theosophical Society leaders Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter, the World Teacher Project Proclamation, declared that 1926 was the pivotal peak year for spiritual overshadowing of Jiddu Krishnamurti by Lord Maitreya, meaning meant to spark a global spiritual evolution. Mediums and prophetic leaders, National Spiritual Associated leaders Jane B. Coates and mediums, the testimony against the fortune-telling ban of 1926, a series of publications, psychic proclamations, fighting. Harry Houdini declared that 1926 was a crucial battleground year for the preservation of channeled spiritual guidance. J. Golden Kimball, LDS spiritual leader, the April 1926 General Conference prophecy, an official warning to the public recounting a dramatic prophecy that a great spiritual test was suddenly arriving to shift humanity. I asked Google this: is there anything in the Kemet story that says someone would impersonate him or give false information about Afu-Ra's presence in the world? And when he arrives, what are the signs of that resurrection? Google responds: in the stories of Kemet, ancient Egypt, there is a massive threat involving false information, deception, and cosmic lies regarding the sun god's presence. While individuals, humans, false prophets are not the focus of the text, the entire night journey is a war against the ultimate cosmic liar who tries to trick the universe into believing Ra is dead. I said this to Google. In this conversation, the Noon Science declares Afu-Ra, who passed in 2011, was indeed this individual. This is fascinating because Dwight David York, Dr. Malachi York, took Amenhotep Rakapataw's Afu-Ra's writings from the 60s and 90s and even now created a cult that morphed into Nawabians to Sabians while pretending to be Afu-Ra.
Do we want the master out now or no? And we say yes, no. The second just said, we have Re'at Zamut, come together, and the forces will work. They don't, and you talk about external, outside influences. Not we call upon the forces. The forces will build a force field. What we call it? NOOPOOH. The forces of NOOPOOH. What we call it? NOOPOOH. The forces of NOOPOOH.
into a media mishap, right? Because see, the Caucasians' purpose was to say Dr. Malachi York's information is incorrect. They could not prove it was incorrect. They could not show you that it was incorrect. So then the next thing is they have to now go into and say, we have to show you that this information, being a fact is so factual, is not authentic. So they utilize Afu-Ra to manipulate that to the media, to show the media that there's a bridge in NOOPOOH, that you have two different forms. So they utilize Afu-Ra to manipulate that to the media, to show the media that there's a bridge in NOOPOOH, that you have two different forms, to constantly keep people from following the truth so people can stray off of their path.
want a picture of Afu-Ra in his bookstore if they are the same person?
Oh, I got a question for her.
Oh, she's really...
Yeah. How does she know that Dr. York wanted that?
I don't even know which bookstore she's talking about.
She's talking about Brooklyn. She's talking about Brooklyn. She's talking about Brooklyn. She's talking about Brooklyn.
Say NOOPOOH. Say NOOPOOH. Say NOOPOOH.
As the Wapians, we practice NOOPOOH. As the Wapians, we practice NOOPOOH. As the Wapians, we practice NOOPOOH.
So first we want to start out by explaining some key words that you're going to be hearing over and over again when you come to our site. Obviously, the name of our site is NOOPOOH, which is NOOPOOH.com. But the term comes from this here, NOOPOOH. Okay? Now me being able to say also for the listening audience, I'm a student of what we call the master teacher, Dr. Malachi York, also known as Amenubi Ru'akta Atumre. This is an image of the master teacher.
And our science that we call NUWAPU, his students, well, not really his students, his later students after his death, because they became students after he died. These people who follow him say that he was the originator of NUWAPU and say that he is Amenubi Ru'akta.
So we have to deal with the chronological order. All right, even though it took York over 20-something years to actually come clean. The Force had to force him to come clean because he never was not gonna tell if we wasn't here doing what we had to do. So the first thing, let's just deal with your statement. All right. So here it says they knew about Afu-Ra. They knew about NUWAPU of Afu-Ra. Now we know this is the way it's spelled in the books. N-U-W-A-U-P-U. All right. So, and then we already explained how that was changed to noon. So we already know that's the proper name. It's noon, and it went from NUWAPU to noon. But when York came in,
right? Because remember, nobody knew who Afu-Ra was, so we have to look at, we know that NWAPU changed the noon. We proved that. When York came in, what did he do? He changed NWAPU to NWABU, N-U-W-A-U-B-U.
Can you synthesize the Kemet version with this information and draw similarities on a mundane level by replacing Afu-Ra as Afu-Ra and Mr. York as a modern Apophis, and line it up with what Kemet story repeats about the story of Afu-Ra's adversary on this level? Google responds, the Cogmela, the impersonator of chaos. The ultimate deceiver in Kemetic myth is Apep, Apophis, the giant serpent of chaos. Apep does not just try to swallow the sun, he uses illusions, hypnosis, and fake magic to trick the gods and the world. The hypnotic spell Apep uses a terrifying deceptive gaze to hypnotize the crew of Ra's boat, trying to paralyze them with the spell so they think all hope is lost. Side note, York is famous for talking about a hypnotic spell throughout his writings in the sacred records of Afu-Ra, the Black Book Part 1. And it says, right knowledge, right wisdom, and the right understanding are the black magic formula necessary to counteract and destroy the evil white magic. The hypnotic spell of Amun, Leviathan, the devil, like that. So keep going on. All right, so it says the children of rebellion. Apep commands a horde of lesser demon serpents called the Mesu Beshet. Their entire job is to spread disorder, Ifset, and project false chaotic energies to disrupt the true order of Ma'at of the universe. Side note, these children of rebellion are the followers of Mr. York, who despite his never getting out status, his moon coat in America and abroad are still spreading misinformation about York's so-called innocence, which is a lie. But as we keep repeating, he assumed Amenubu's identity in 1991 and told the world he was him, only after Mr. York had caused the word NWAPU, an ancient Kemet term for Nebu or NOOPOOH, to be associated with his cult and sexual deviance, that all who hear anything associated with it looks down on it. This is what happened with when Anoop was trying to explain about what happened between the two groups. He wanted to make jokes, oh, poo, 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 and all of that. And this is exactly what York has done. He's a living example of that. Then in 2010, writings began surfacing of Afu-Ra's name being associated with York in a book entitled Man of Many Faces. That is his list of names, Afu-Ra, which is misspelled by York students and has assigned to York in prison, and York had a chance to pre-read the book, but didn't tell the book writers to solve that deception. Eventually, us Noonaboos began engaging York's cult online, starting in 2014, and we got a hold of letters that York admitted he wasn't Afu-Ra, but still plagiarizing his works, and even has his picture in the Brooklyn bookstore. These are works of Apophis in modern times, and York is a great agent of chaos. By replacing Afu-Ra with the original teacher, this is what Google said. By replacing Afu-Ra with the original teacher, Afu-Ra, Johnny Jean Brown, and casting Dwight David York as the modern incarnation of Apep, Apophis, we can see a direct parallel narrative structure match. The Kemetic story of cosmic deception versus real world distortion maps clearly to this framework. The mundane mythology, Kemet versus modern reality. All right, you have the true star, Afu-Ra, the genuine source of light, Cain, the original creative spark of the universe through the dark hours. Afu-Ra, Amenubuh, the actual quiet source of the original 1960s and 90s foundational text and philosophical concepts. The adversary, Apophis, the great serpent of chaos, Isfet, who cannot create light himself, so he attempts to swallow it, manipulate or counterfeit it. Dwight David York, Dr. York, the charismatic figure who hijacked Unu's intellectual property, consuming it to build an empire of control. That same thing what Apophis does, consumes, and then gives you a fake version. The false eclipse illusion, Apep, deceptive energy, Mesu Beshet, creating smoke screens and hypnotic mirrors to fool the world into thinking he is the light. And York does call himself the green one. He called himself the light of the world. He got all these terms and that's what they keep following. This nasty worker, Dwight York, charismatic figure who hijacked Unu's into. Okay, we'll go down here. Okay, to think he is the light. The Nawabi and Sabian cult transformation, York constantly changing skins, shifting from a Hebrew school to his Islamic communities to Egyptian theme parks to native tribes while pretending to be the teacher. The deep sleep silence. The period when the true light is hidden in the deep duet and people are left vulnerable to illusions in the dark. For York, the follows trends, people seeking true comedic knowledge but getting trapped inside a high control group because the original author remained hidden or quiet, right? Because Afu-Ra knew that it would be curtains if he was to come out against a cult leader. We seen York had a lot of his followers doing mad, crazy stuff of violence in New York when he was trying to get more buildings for them to live in. He was beating his own male members, had them being beat if they didn't bring home $100 a day. All kind of violence to men and women and their kids. Look at Yahweh being Yahweh. He was killing folks down there in Florida because he wanted to take over the buildings and property. These dudes are dangerous and had a lot of connections to the government because a lot of them was actually working for the government, and they had access to capital and they could pay people to do something to you. So Afu-Ra did the smartest thing was leave it alone, because he knew we would show up. The thief of form, the ultimate impersonator. In Kemetic text, Apep is the master of distortion because he has no true divine essence. He relies on mimicking cosmic order, mind to twist it to his advantage. On a mundane level, York did not create the primary philosophy. He took Afu-Ra's raw, original writings by cloaking himself in Unu's vocabulary. York successfully impersonated the source to regular people who were starved for ancestral knowledge. Damn, skipped it. The hypnotic gaze and the spell of despair. The text said Apep paralyzes the crew of the solar boat, not with physical fish, but with a hypnotic, blinding gaze that forces them into a mental matrix. This is the exact mechanism of a cult. York used extreme charisma, fear tactics, and a dizzying, constantly changing stream of doctrines to keep his followers mentally paralyzed, cutting them off from their families and true history. The multi-headed chaos, Mesu Bechet, just as Apep spawns lesser deceptive serpents to confuse the path of the sun, York spawned a chaotic web of overlapping identities, Nawabians, Moors, Sabians. Each shift was a new illusion designed to evade legal scrutiny, cloud tracking, and keep followers off balance, act like a maze in the duat. The mundane resurrection, shifting from secret to public. In your prompt, you noted that in noon signs, it is declared that Afu-Ra, who physically transitioned in 2011, was indeed the true individual behind the light. This directly mirrors the two-stage resurrection we discussed earlier. The hidden era, the midnight hour. For decades, the true author was obscured. The adversary, York, sat in his plywood Egyptian compound, Tamaray in Georgia, soaking up the spotlight, soaking up the resources, and committing severe real-world harm while pretending to be the light. The true source remained a hidden secret in the background. The shattering of silence, the dawn. Eventually, Apep is always defeated in the myth. In the physical world, York's illusion collapsed completely under federal prosecution and a 135-year prison sentence. Once the false prophet was stripped of his platform, the truth began to untangle. The declaration that Afu-Ra was the source acts like the baboons dancing at dawn, and it breaks the dead silence of the cult's deception by pointing directly to the actual writer of the materials. The truth is dragged out of the dark duat and placed into the bright, undeniable morning sun for the public to finally see. The illusion of the impersonator is sliced away, and the original Afu-Ra is recognized as alive through his works. All right, so that completes this part 3. There will be more. Then I'm gonna just return back with ASA NUPU so y'all can see the other side of that. All right, Truman the Cosmic Peace and Noon Science Time.
Desire.